leathers, and the conditions, Barry Sheen, could hardly be worse.
No, they couldn't, because there's a hell of a lot of surface water on the track, and the little 250s are the ones that have got to do all the work and break it up. And they're away. And into the lead, it looks like Pierre Boll, but it's hard to say. Over to you, Murray.
Well, away they go, and well up at the front is indeed Boll, but going through on the inside is Jacques Cornu, number 3 there, the man to watch. Carlos Lavado, round the right-hander at Cox Corner, and they take that at about 70 miles an hour, even in these appalling conditions. And now, and down goes the first one, and it looks like Martin Wimmer, but no, the man who's dropped is Pierre Boll, and he's perfectly okay, seemingly. Winded, I suspect. He's obviously caught part of the bike in his stomach. And so it is Jacques Cornu who is leading, and well up at the front there is Dominique Sarron, who's come through from the position on the grid, and there going through is the British bike, number 38 of Neil Mackenzie on the Armstrong, down Hanger Straight into Stowe Corner. And let's have a look again as they come round the left-hander. The bike slides away.
What happened, he went into the corner and obviously touched some water, some surface water, and the front end just aquaplaned. And it's very difficult on the first lap of a race because you're just looking around to see where the puddles are. So if anything's going to happen, usually in the first 2 or 3 laps, until people have picked out where the surface water is, it's a very difficult thing to do. It looks like Sid O'Pon's had to take a void in action. I don't know whether he got back on the track again.
Well, we'll soon see. Look for number 19, Cito Pons, because he had to avoid the fallen rider there, and now they're having to contend with these dreadful, all too familiar conditions here at Silverstone. The rain is pouring down. It has been for quite a long time now. The surface is thoroughly wet. The visors will be steaming up, and at the end of lap 1, over the line, in the lead goes Jacques Cornu, the 33-year-old Swiss rider on his Honda. In second position, it's Dominique Sarron. In third position, it's Virginio Ferrari, the X500cc rider. There, number 4 is Martin Wimmer, who is in, what, about 10th position from the look of it, and we still have a long, long way to go, because it's a 24-lap race. They're only on lap 2.
I was talking to Jacques Cornu this morning, and he rides a lot of endurance races, and he was saying that his bike's not all that quick, but if it rains like it is doing, then he's going to be in with a really good chance. And it's interesting to see Dominique Sarron also does a lot of endurance racing, and it's obviously pays dividends.
But it's Sarron leading now as you look at Reinhold Roth, number 9, coming down the Hanger Straight. Dominique Sarron from Clermont-Ferrand. Tucked up behind him is Alan Carter, the British rider, the youngest rider to have won a Grand Prix for a long time. In 1983, he won the French Grand Prix, and he's reveling in these conditions. 21-year-old Alan Carter for Britain on the Spanish Cobas machine. From Halifax in second position, still leading is Sarron. There is Carter. Got the wet weather suit on. Does that make a lot of difference, Barry?
No, it doesn't. It just, I suppose, stops you from getting wet, but you don't really notice it too much. The only bad thing about wearing a wetsuit is there's very little friction. If you crash, you tend to slide a long way.
Sarron leads. Carter second. There he is in third place. It's Jacques Cornu. No, it isn't, because coming up fast now on the outside is Ferrari, Virginio Ferrari, who's got so much 500cc experience, and over the line goes Carter. It's been a wonderful British Grand Prix meeting so far for Britain, because yesterday we had Steve Webster and Tony Hewitt moving up to lead the World Championship in the sidecar class. Then we had Ian McConaughey winning the 80cc class, his first Grand Prix win. And now Alan Carter is seemingly pulling away with a clear track in front of him on lap 3.
Yeah, all I'm hoping is that he calms down a little, because if you remember last year in the wet conditions, he was flying. And if he just settled down a little, because he threw away all his chances last year. But my bet for this race is going to be Carlos Lavado, because Carlos is very good in the rain, very experienced. And if you notice, he's laying in 5th place at the moment. I think all he'll do is just sort of see how the rest of them go, let them break all the puddles up. And don't forget, they only pay the last lap, so that's the one I think he's interested in.
And the order now is number 7, Alan Carter, leading, trying to go through on the inside, Dominique Saron, but Carter's got the line. In third position, number 34 is Virginia Ferrari, and through into the lead goes Saron, nips inside Carter, who will tuck into his slipstream now, and they continue to have the problem, whoever are behind, of this great ball of spray, but it's tremendously close, because these wet conditions have the effect of slowing up the field, and now through again goes Saron. But it's going to stay tight, I suspect, Barry, like this the whole way.
I would think so. The advantage with the rain is it's anybody with a quick bike, it doesn't give them any advantage. You know, it's really a rider's race in conditions like this. Talking about number 10, Jack Cornu, he was saying that his bike's not very quick, and if you look, he's up the front when he comes out of a bunch of corners, gets to the end of the straight, and he's really struggling. And you can't ride a whole race like that.
That is the end of lap 3. Carter leads. Watch him come out of the fairing. Out goes the knee, heels the bike over. On their knees they have anti-friction pads because they're quite literally scraping the surface part of the time. Frenchman Dominique Saron, brother of Christian Saron, ex-250 world champion, in second place. Now there's a bit of a gap developing, but Virginia Ferrari, number 34 on the Honda, is still in third position, and there is Martin Wimmer, the strong, big West German on the Works Yamaha. So it's a Spanish Cobas leading. It is in second place the Honda of Dominique Saron, then the Honda of Virginio Ferrari, and then the Yamaha of Wimmer, who's now up into third position. Now, if this was you, Barry, and you were riding in these wet conditions, would you be trying to make a breakaway or staying with the pack?
Well, I'd have a little go to see if I could get a breakaway, say for a couple of laps, and if I realised I couldn't, then all I'd do would just be in with the bunch, because it's so much easier just to sort of race with somebody rather than sort of disappear out on your own. The only advantage is in conditions like this, you've got a nice clear road in front of you, and you're not worried about someone doing something silly. The trouble is with Alan Carter, he always looks where he's been instead of where he's going.
Which is what he just did, and there, looming over his shoulder, was Dominique Saron, who was very much looking where he's going. So Carter's leading now, coming up under the bridge, down into Woodcote to complete lap 4, which will leave 20 laps still to go. Alan Carter, let us hope for his sake, riding more steadily than he did last year. He leads across the line. Saron second. Lavado now in third position. Carlos Lavado, number 3, the Venezuelan who was world champion, and there he is in 1985 with 5 Grand Prix victories behind him already this year, leading the world championship by 13 points, is now in third position. And from his point of view, if he finishes well up in, say, the top 3, he's going to be laughing.
I think the thing is with Carlos, 2 or 3 years ago, he used to ride with his heart instead of his head, and now he's completely changed. You know, in this race, he'll look who's in front of him. If he can get past them easily, he'll go for that. But the guys that's leading, that's up the front of the championship, is behind Carlos, so I think he'll press on. Oh, somebody's down.
And let's say it looks like Wimmer. It's Cornu, it's Jacques Cornu is off. Well up in the race, now out of it, so you can see how slippery the conditions are. And the problem is, of course, that the moment you get on the grass, all grip has completely disappeared and you're totally out of control.
That's the trouble. I think what happened to Jack there is the old story with aquaplaning. That corner is a very difficult one, and you go into it and the front end's very light, and if there's any surface water, you lose the front end. You see he's lost the front end on the apex of the corner. When you hit the grass, you're doing 100 mile an hour. 20 feet in, you're doing 120 mile an hour because you've got no friction to stop you.
And very much out of the race, of course, quite apart from his limp, the machinery's damaged. And now it's Dominique Saron, the Frenchman, 26 years old, leading Alan Carter, the Honda leading the Spanish Cobas machine. And it looks as though it's going to be like brother, because Saron is leading. Lavado is in third position. In fourth place is the Spanish rider Carlos Cardus. In fifth position. Down to fifth goes Virginia Ferrari, and in sixth position Reinhold Roth. And you're looking now at the battle between Cardos and Lavado. Number 12, Carlos Cardos, in fourth position, closing up a bit on Lavado.
I think Carlos might get a little bit worried because Cardos tends to ride a little bit like Carlos used to, so I think as soon as Lavado sees Cardos, he'll make a break and try and get away from it.
Number 12, there he is, there's the Spaniard. And he's now behind and ahead of Virginio Ferrari. And a right old ding-dong going on at the front. Lap 6 out of 24, and it's still Dominique Sarron. And we'll get a lap time on them next time and see how it compares with the pole position and the fastest lap ever. The lap record is held by Christian Sarron, 1984, 1:33.4, and of course in today's conditions I would estimate at a guess they're going to be about 5 seconds slower. But Alan Carter is back in the lead. Mal Carter's son, Alan Carter, looking a bit twitchy there.
Yeah, he went in a little bit early there, and the front wheel touched the white line, but as luck would have it, it wasn't any problem. I think you'll find when Lavado gets a signal from his pits that Cardos is behind him, I think you'll find that Lavado will start to go then.
Now the gap over the first 5 is only 1.91 seconds, coming up to complete 6 laps, and over the line now goes Alan Carter. Then in second position, it's Dominique Sarron into Cox Corner, the right-hander. 31 is Dominique Sarron, then Carlos Lavado, then number 9, Reinhold Roth. But ahead of him is Carlos Carter, so the first 5 are getting a bit spread out, but still covered by less than 2 seconds on lap 7 out of 24. Round the left-hander at Maggots, down into the right-hander of Beckett's Corner, which is a second gear corner. Lavado closing up a bit on Dominique Sarron. And there is Jean-Francois Baldet, the Frenchman, 5 times a winner of a Grand Prix. And this here now, we're travelling with Jean-Francois Baldet with our on-bike camera. You can see what the conditions are like from the rider's point of view. Is that an accurate representation, Barry?
It's not really, Murray, because the windscreen's in front of it. When you're with your visor on your helmet, when you get a lot of rain on it, you just turn your head a little bit, a couple of degrees to one side, and the rain clears. But it's not a lot better than that when you're following people. I mean, you know, with a spray.
Dreadful enough anyway, but now the top 3 absolutely together, and it's still Carter leading on the Cobas, Sarron second on the Honda, and Lavado third on the Yamaha. 3 different makes of machine, and down out of the race now goes Christian Boudinet's Cobas. That's the same make and type of machine as race leader Alan Carter. Over the line goes Carter. Now his lap time, 1:51, so my guess was a long, long way out. 1:33 the lap record, 1:51 is what Carter's just gone round in, and that'll give you an indication of how dreadful these conditions are. Carter leading then, Dominique Sarron in second place, Lavado in third position for this round 9 out of 11 of the 250 World Championship. And there's still the Swedish round to go on the 10th of August, and the last one, the San Marino race at Imola on the 24th of August. And it looks as though Carlos Lavado, if he stays where he is now, will be, I was going to say home and dry. He certainly won't be home and dry today, but he will be home and dry for his second World Championship in 3 years. Carter, 31, Dominique Sarron. A lot of pressure on Alan Carter, Barry, particularly when you bear in mind what happened to him under similar circumstances last year.
Well, there is. I don't think it's as bad for him this year because he hasn't gone very well. He's had a lot of trouble sort of setting his bike up and that. So this is probably the best thing that can ever happen to him. He'll realise what a mistake he made last year in the same race. So I think he might have learned a lesson, and let's hope he has, and he'll use his head. We'll have to wait and see.
And keep an eye on number 9, Reinhold Roth, as Carter retakes the lead, because Reinhold Roth, the German, on the Honda, is starting to close up, and that is Anton Mang. That was Anton Mang, double world champion, the West German, not his day. Now Reinhold Roth on the second of the Works Yamahas, one of the several Works Yamahas, number 9, you can see him between Lavado, and there he is, Dominique Sarron, the West German, whose best finish so far this year has been 10th place, is really going extremely well in 4th here.
Yeah, Carlos, I think we just saw him nip through into 2nd place, and yes, he's got pass back again. But if I was Carlos in his position now, I would put the pressure on, because Didier Sarron is a young guy, and young guys, they really do seem to try a little bit. They've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So if I was Carlos, I'd get out the way.
Here, the man from Caracas. There he is, Carlos Lavado, typical South American, tremendously ebullient personality, and he's really going for it now. He must have been listening to you, Barry. And incidentally, Barry, I believe I'm right in saying he's wearing a pair of your gloves, isn't he?
It's funny, when I used to race, Carlos used to borrow some plastic washing up gloves off of me every time it rained, and must be very careful, because he's had that pair for 2 years and they're still lasting.
Well, he's certainly getting his money's worth out of them. Dominique Sarron leads, but it's anybody's race, you can see for yourselves. Carter goes right across Sarron and Lavado.
The difficult thing for somebody like Lavado in this race is that both Dominique Sarron and Alan Carter are taking really good lines on the corners, so the only chance you've got to get past is by taking a sort of an unorthodox line. That's all very well in the dry, but what happens in the wet, you take an unorthodox line, nobody's been on that line before, and there's a load of surface water, so you have to be very, very careful where you pick to overtake.
1.4 seconds covers the first 4. Lavado back into 2nd place ahead of Dominique Sarron. Alan Carter is still leading. Reinhold Roth, there he is still in 4th place. In 5th position, it is Carlos Cardus, and in 6th position, it is Virginio Ferrari. But it's the battle between these three that is making the race, and the lead chopping and changing all the time. But significantly, Lavado, and I feel in my bone marrow he's got something in reserve, has hardly been in the lead at all. He seems to be letting Sarron and Carter make the running.
I think that's the case, because he knows that obviously everybody wants to win a Grand Prix, but the two in front are willing to risk a lot more than Carlos is. And the trouble for Carlos is Dominic Sarron's bike is quicker on the top end. So when Carlos gets past, then Sarron passes him again down the straight. There's nothing more aggravating.
And Lavado has already won 16 Grand Prix, of course. What he's got to do is keep his World Championship points going. At the present moment, he's on 10 points for 3rd position. Carter is on 15 if he wins. And down goes yet another one. That looked like Baldé's bike to me, being wheeled away. Jean-François Baldé's bike out of the race. Because if you just tip the bike over a fraction too far, where you might be able to recover in dry conditions, it's long gone in the wet.
That's for sure, and it gives us a good idea of what the conditions are like, because when you see a guy like Anton Mang, who's been several times world champion, and a guy like Jean-François Baldé, who's been racing for 18 or 20 years, go down, it shows you it's not very good conditions, to say the least.
Now, I'm continuing to watch Roth, because these three in front, as I've said many times before, are getting in each other's way, slowing each other up. Lavado up into 2nd position now, Dominique Sarron down to 3rd, and Roth still with them.
Yeah, Carlos has got in front again, but I think you'll find when we get to the next straight, the Hangar Straight, that Didier Sarron's bike, he's just got that little edge on it, and it is very, very difficult, because you're riding hard and trying to outbrake somebody, and you finally slide past, only for them to come past down the straight again. It is really frustrating.
Now, number 9, Roth, there he is in 4th position, carries that number because he was 9th in the 250cc World Championship last year. Alan Carter was 7th, number 7. Carlos Lavado was 3rd, and so on. So you can see that Dominique Sarron is going extremely well. There is Roth going through on the inside of Jean-Louis Guignard-Baudet, and I'm glad we don't see him too often with a name like that, who's been lapped. This is lap 11 out of 24, which is a 70-mile race. Tyres, Barry, what about them?
Well, in conditions like this, obviously they're on full wet tyres, more or less everybody's got the same compound. They won't have any trouble with the tyres shredding or anything like that, or wearing themselves out, because there's so much surface water, it keeps the temperature down, and I don't think there'll be any tyre trouble at all.
And the problem, not so much at Silverstone, getting past tail-enders, because there is a nice wide circuit and plenty of room to do it. 1.5 seconds, and now you can see there is one of the many Michelin equipped bikes on the circuit. That's Marc Chouton's bike, actually, the Dutchman. And out goes Fausto Ricci, and that is the young Italian who was the 125 world champion in 1985. So now we've got 2 world champions out of the race, one of them Anton Mang, and now Fausto Ricci. But meantime, on his way, at the present moment anyway, to his 2nd Grand Prix win in his career, is 21-year-old Alan Carter, riding steadily, but now he's facing the ultimate pressure, because while they're pulling away from the 3rd place man, he's got no less a personality than Carlos Lavado, almost literally on his rear wheel.
Yeah, that's good. Well, he's just had a look round, and when he sees Carlos, he's obviously going to want to stay in front of him, but I feel that Carlos's experience will end up telling. All I hope is that Alan doesn't press on too hard and think, oh, it's Lavado behind me, and go and do something silly, because he's better off getting a good 2nd place rather than a dent in the straw bales.
And I think 2nd place is what he's got at the moment. It is Lavado leads. Now, the half-distance lap, Carlos Lavado leads. Now, Barry, I know it's a long time since you were in this situation, but when you're in Carter's position, do you ever have the feeling that, crumbs, I shouldn't be ahead of Lavado?
No, not really. You know, you just think, oh boy, you know, you've got somebody like a world champion like Lavado behind you. It puts a lot of pressure on you, and it's interesting to see Dominique Sarron coming up again. He must have got held up. I think we ought to give it a couple of laps and see if Sarron pegs back Lavado again, because if he does, then I think we're going to be in for a pretty good race towards the end.
But at the present moment, Lavado is piling on the coals, going for a bit of a breakaway, and the gap now between himself and the new 2nd place man, Dominique Sarron, is about, what, 20 machines lengths. Not very much, but now Carter is down from the lead to 3rd position, and Lavado will be going for the break, and Carter is fighting back to try and catch and retake 2nd place from Dominique Sarron there on the Honda. Yamaha leads, Honda 2nd, Cobas 3rd. And there is Sarron. 3rd in France, that's the highest he's had. But Dominique Sarron is fresh from a marvellous victory in the 8-hour race at Suzuka in Japan, where he shared a works Honda with Wayne Gardner.
I think Alan Carter might have had a bit of a moment then, because it looks like Reinhold Roth has got in front of him. And you can see in the background, yes, Roth just passed him, so all he wants to do is just settle down and let the race take its pace, and then put the pressure on towards the end, because it'll be drying out towards the end, and it's a lot easier then.
Yeah, 2 yellow fairing machines there. Roth actually still just behind Carter, and Carter was coming up to take Harold Eckel on the Honda, so it's still unchanged for the first 3, but the leaders, number 3 from Venezuela, ex-world champion and leading the championship this year, Carlos Lavado, in his wheel tracks, Frenchman Dominique Sarron. Then in 3rd position, Alan Carter, number 7 on the Cobas. There he is, a long way behind now. Then Roth is in 4th position. Starting to catch Roth is Carlos Cardus. And in sixth position behind Cardus is still Virginio Ferrari. And there is Roth, fourth position. Barry, do you know, Saron leads. Saron leads, the Frenchman on the Honda, ahead of the V-twin Yamaha. Now, until last year, there was some sort of an unwritten, I think, agreement between Honda and Yamaha that they wouldn't produce the ultimate in works machinery to give the private owners a chance. And then at this race last year, Carlos Lavado appeared with Yamaha's secret weapon, the new V-twin, and Honda fought back with the very special bike for Freddie Spencer, and it's a replica of that Saron is riding now. Now, do you know anything about the relative power characteristics, Barry, between the Honda and the Yamaha? Because that could make the difference in these conditions.
Well, yeah, as far as I know, I was talking to Carlos in the pits yesterday, and he said that the Honda's a little bit quicker on top speed, which is not such a good thing for Silverstone, because on the last run up through Abbey Curve and into Woodcote, if it's a close thing, then obviously the top speed's going to do it. But Carlos said all in all, they're pretty evenly matched. The Yamaha pulls a little bit better out the corners and therefore would be a little bit easier to ride in these conditions.
Lap 14. There goes Lavado in second position. Here is Carter in third. Look for number 9, Roth in fourth position. Behind him, number 12, Carlos Cardus is in fifth place. And then still in sixth position is Virginio Ferrari. It's of academic interest to the people on the course, but it is actually brightening up a bit. It is still raining heavily, and we can only hope that the later races this afternoon, the 125 and the big one, the 500cc class, will have drier conditions than they've got in the 250 class, but I think it's pretty unlikely. Where is Lavado? There he is. That was Roth, rather. And there is Carlos Cardus. So it's a Spanish machine. There it is in third position. It's a Spanish rider in fifth place. Spain's not doing so badly. And in World Championship terms, Lavado is in a fantastically strong position, because the man who started this race 13 points behind him in the World Championship, with 3 races to go, including this one, and that's Cito Pons, went out of the 250 British Grand Prix some time ago. So if Lavado gets the 10 points, or the 12 points or more that he's on at the moment, then he is undoubtedly going to end up as world champion for 1986, unless he had the most appalling luck in the last 2 races. However, race leader number is still Lavado. There is Pons. And for those of you who don't know about motorcycle controls, change the gear with the left foot, put the brakes on with the right foot, clutch with the left hand, twist grip with the right hand. And now Dominique Saron is, what, 4 or 5 seconds ahead of Carlos Lavado as they complete lap 15. 9 laps to go then. And what's the mental state, Barry?
Well, I should think the first 3 riders at the moment are riding round, sort of looking at how many laps to go and just sort of working it out in their own mind. Knowing Carlos the way I do, I would think he's had a good go at getting away from Dominic Saron and obviously couldn't do it. So I would imagine he's just sitting back there thinking, okay, I'll let the laps tick away, settle down a bit, take a bit of a breather, and then put the pressure on at the end. There again, he might be saying, well, look, I'm a long way in front of Cito Pons. He's the guy that's behind me in the World Championship. I'll just use my head and I'll stay second. Only he knows that.
Yes, if he stays where he is now, he's going to be about 25 points ahead of Cito Pons with 2 races to go and 30 points to be allocated from the 2 first places. So really, I'm sure he's riding tactically. There you see the gap. There are the first 3. Dominique Saron, Clermont-Ferrand in France, following up his Suzuka victory with a 250 win here. And That's certainly going to be the highest he's finished this season, and will do his 6th place in the World Championship, no harm at all. Now, Alan Carter seems to have got the wet sail up, and he's closing up on Carlos Lavado. This is lap 16. There's Dominique Sarron and his brother Christian, of course, in the pits watching him, and the battle developing for second. In fact, the battle on for second, and Carter going for it, riding round the outside of Lavado.
Well, it's a good thing that it's late in the race, because a lot of people have cleared the surface water and that. When Carlos sees Alan, I would think any kind of luck, he'll just say, oh, well, look, neither of them are bothering me points-wise, so I'll just let them go. You know, that will be the best thing to do. Although Cito Pons now is up into 7th place. Oh, 5th place now. So, it's a bit of bad luck for Pons, because he got brought down by Pierre Boll at the beginning, and he's making such good progress now, so it would have been a good four-cornered battle.
Yes, of course, my mistake. Cito Pons very much in the running. Now, 5th place, we'll have to take a check on where Pons is in relation to Carlos Cardus. We're looking at Jacques Foret, the Frenchman, at the present moment, well down in the running. And you can see that visually he's going a lot slower than the leaders. Hardly surprising. Now, Cito Pons, number 19, there he is. There is the Spaniard, the man who raced the Works 500cc Suzuki in 1985, having recovered from a badly broken leg a couple of years previously. Now, there, well, it's getting pretty close between Carlos Cardus, who is in 5th position, number 12, and number 19 there, Cito Pons. And all the places Pons gains will help his World Championship chances. 5 points at the present moment. He'll make it 6 if he can get up to 5th position, and then it starts to improve quite a lot, because it's 8 points for 4th place and so on, up to 15th for 1st. And there is Cardus, 12. There is Pons, 19. And the leaders are now on lap 18, and it is still Dominique Sarron leading. As you look at Cito Pons going for 5th position, it's still Alan Carter. I say still, Alan Carter has taken that 2nd place from Carlos Lavado, who seems to be quite content to stay where he is. 4th is still Reinhold Roth. There is Carter in his 2nd place. Now, can he do anything about that man, number 31, Dominique Sarron? And as you have said, Barry, to these two men, Sarron, number 31, the leader, and number 7, Alan Carter, the Grand Prix victory here is going to mean a great deal.
Oh, without any doubt, you know, it'd be lovely to see either Dominic or, obviously, I'd like to see Alan Carter win it. But when somebody's been racing as long as Carlos, and he's been in all these situations that the two front guys are in now, and he's learned his lesson, you know, I'm sure that you'll find Carlos will just stroke it and finish a good 3rd, unless he gets any pressure from behind, and it doesn't look very likely at the moment.
Cito Pons, who I notice has scorned any kind of a wet weather oversuit, unlike Alan Carter, who's put the red oversuit over his leathers. There is Lavado, and there is Cito Pons. Now let's see where he is in relation to number 12, Carlos Cardus. There he is, right behind him. So the battle, and off goes somebody on the corner there. Let's see if we can spot who it is. Somebody absolutely shot off the course there. Well, out go the straw bales, and I'm sorry, I just can't identify who it is as he walks away. But he's obviously quite okay, which is the important thing. That shows the value of those straw bales.
Boy, it sure does. I can't imagine what happened there, because it looked like the bike was still upright. Even if it had a front brake failure, I can't imagine he'd have gone off the track that quick. But thank God he's okay. He looks fine.
Now, the battle for 5th continues, and the battle is between Carlos Cardus and behind him Cito Pons, and there it is, and Pons is ahead. So Cito Pons, after that coming together almost. I mean, he had a masterly avoidance at Beckett's on the first lap, and he's clawed his way up into 5th position. Now his target is number 9, Reinhold Roth, who is in 4th position. The skies are clearing and the rain is slowing down. I was optimistically going to say it stopped, but it hasn't, as the leader, Dominique Sarron, number 31, rounds the corner, looks back over his shoulder to see where Alan Carter is, and he's not so very far behind as he comes up to Abbey. There is the Englishman, the winner of the French Grand Prix in 1983, and he became the youngest rider in Grand Prix history to win one because he was only 19 years old at the time. He's only 18 years old at the time. There's Lavado holding a steady 3rd.
I can imagine how Dominique Sarron feels now, because when you pull away, you pull out a good gap, and then you get your pit board and it's down from 5 to 4 to 3. It's so much easier to come from behind. And what Alan wants to do now is just peg him back little by little and worry the guy. And that way, the chap that's leading is going to be fully preoccupied with Alan Carter catching up instead of thinking about pulling away.
Lap 20 out of 24, the leader, number 31, Dominique Sarron, the Frenchman on the twin-cylinder Honda. These bikes, incidentally, develop about 80 brake horsepower. They have 6-speed gearboxes. They weigh about 90 kilograms. And in ideal conditions will do as near 150 miles an hour as makes no difference. Down the hanger straight, they're doing about 145 in the dry, slower than that in the wet, of course. There is the second man, Carter. There is the third man, Lavado. That is the spread. Now, coming towards us, number 9, Reinhold Roth. See how far number 19, Pons is. There is Reinhold Roth. And I think there's a bit of a gap before him and number 19, Cito Pons. Now, let's see. Here is Reinhold Roth coming towards us in 4th position. Look for number 19. There he is. And I bet you that Cito Pons is going to take that 4th place before the end of this race, probably on the next lap.
I mean, it really looks like he's putting everything into it. I think we're going to end up with a really good race here, because it looks like Pons is going to catch Roth, and it's looking a lot like Alan Carter's going to catch Sarron. So I saw Sarron looking around a couple of times, which is always a good sign, because it shows he's getting a little bit on the rattle side.
Well, there's number 19, Cito Pons, the winner in Yugoslavia, the winner in Belgium, 2nd in France, 2 third places, 2nd in the World Championship. So he's got a terrific incentive to go for. And no doubt, Barry, after that first lap, it's a bit of the old red mist.
Well, it was so sad for him, because that crash on the first lap, or going off the circuit, was nothing to do with him whatsoever. And you've got to give the bloke full points, because to stay on, don't forget he went on the soaking wet grass at about 140 mile an hour. And it's frightening, to say the least, and not very nice, I can tell you.
Dominique Sarron, number 31, lap 21, race leader. The conditions are as bad as they were. Well, perhaps not quite as bad. At least it's stopped raining. But paradoxically enough, not that the course is really drying, but it starts to get wet and greasy. And look at Carter there. You can see how slippery it is.
Yeah, I think Alan's going to put everything into it in the last couple of laps. I mean, what else can you do? You either settle for second. He wants to have a good go for a lap and a half and see if he can pull a bit back. If he can't pull it back, just settle down and go for a second. But it's important to finish. You know, you must get your points. That's what it's all about.
And the optimist in me, looking out of our commentary high position across the skyline, says that it's going to dry out a bit later in the afternoon. I hope I'm right. Carter going for second, chasing Dominique Sarron on the Honda. Now we'll get the gap. The gap between Sarron and Carter is 2.6 seconds. There is Carlos Lavado, well back in 3rd place, not at all worried, because he's in a very strong position in the World Championship. There's a long, long gap as you watch Carlos Lavado before coming through in 4th position is Reinhold Roth, And going down to Cox Corner now, less than a second behind him is Cito Pons. So Pons is definitely going to get that fourth place. But before very much longer, indeed he hasn't got much longer because this is lap 22. Only 2 full laps to go at the end of this one. 31 the race leader, Sarrel. 7 second, Alan Carter. Look for 3 in third position, Carlos Lavado. Now there's a gap as the Venezuelan goes through, and that is the battle for fourth position. Fifth is number 19, Cito Pons, second in the World Championship. There's the man he's chasing, West German Reinhold Roth on the Honda. And if Cito Pons can get that place, he will have 8 World Championship points instead of the 6 that he is currently on. Lap 22.
I think Cito will be able to pass Roth, because if Roth realises he's behind, then he gets rattled pretty easy. I remember passing him on the last lap of the French Grand Prix once, and he does tend to get a little bit rattled. So if he knows Pons is there, there's a good chance that he might lose the place to him.
Well, it's not going to be very much longer before that happens. Cito Pons, the brilliant Spaniard, 4th in the World Championship in 1984, and with 2 victories behind him already this year, he continues to have that terrific incentive to close up, get past Roth. And then I think that's Cito Pons' race, because there would be no chance of him catching Carlos Lavado. There is too big a gap. The race leaders now are on lap 23. The last lap but 1. This is Beckett's corner, the slowest corner on the course, the right-hander, which they take at about 60 miles an hour in the dry. Look for Carter, number 7. There he is. And remember that Alan Carter, in the lead last year, abandoned ship at colossal velocity. And Cito Pons is right up with Reinhold Roth, who's staving him off far better than I expected him to.
Well, yes, but I think, don't forget, there's another 2 laps to go, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Pons get it. It's good to see Alan Carter is more or less settled for second place. He looks like he's sitting up now. He knows he's far enough in front of Carlos Lavado not to be worried, so he's doing a really good job.
Yes, and a sign of considerably increased maturity for the young Englishman from Halifax. Yeah, he's sitting up out of the bike and taking it easy by his standards. Certainly not by mine, but Alan Carter looks as though he's home for 12 points if number 31, Dominique Sarron, whose brother is on the pit rail watching him go by, and will be absolutely delighted, obviously. And Sarron, the other Sarron, Christian Sarron, went extremely well in the 500cc practice, so we might even have the brothers winning 2 races today. And Carter is not quite as close as he looks on your television screen. Now look for number 3, Carlos Lavado, the World Championship leader. He's obviously settled for 3rd place. Now there is the battle for 4th, and it's Pons who's there. Cito Pons, the Spaniard, number 19 on the Honda, is set for his 8th World Championship points to add to the 74 that he has already. But the gap between himself and World Championship leader Carlos Lavado will be increased, because Lavado in 3rd position is ahead of Cito Pons, and he'll actually get 2 points more if he finishes where he is. There's Pons, 4th position. Reinhold Roth down to 5th place. In 6th position, well, it's still Carlos Cardes, but dropping back, and they're on the last lap now. There's the gap between 31, Dominique Sarron, his first Grand Prix victory. And off goes Carter. Carter's dropped it on the last lap. He's done it again. For the 2nd race in succession, he's unharmed, as you can see. But oh, why did he do that when he didn't need to?
Murray, there is no answer. God only knows. I really don't know. you know, I can't say anything. That's the way it goes.
And that means to say, of course, that steady old Carlos Lavado, and I never thought I'd call him that, goes up to second, and Sarrel wins the British 250cc Grand Prix, and Carlos Lavado, by virtue of a steady, determined ride, takes second place and 12 World Championship points. So in third position now will be Cito Pons. Indeed, he crosses the line as I talk to you. Fourth is Reinhold Roth. Up into fifth position behind Reinhold Roth will come Carlos Cardas. Indeed, he crosses the line. And in sixth position is Virginio Ferrari, and Alan Carter blew it on the last lap. Let's see what happened. There is the leader, Dominique Sarrel, and there is Carter.
Well, it's a little bit out of frame, but he had the thing locked up by the looks of it coming into the corner. It didn't look as if he turned in and touched the white line or anything. It was just a little bit too low out of frame to see. But the bike was laying left when he should have been heading right. I think he made a big you cannot, I just don't understand how he can think that you can make up a second and a half on the last lap. When the guy in front, slowing down, he knows that to be ready and look for Carter. I mean, there's nothing but stupidity caused that.
Well, a tragedy either way, and Dominique Sarrel deservedly very cheerful after winning his first Grand Prix on his 250cc Honda. Some recompense for Honda, incidentally, because Carlos Lavado on his Yamaha has been dominating the 250 Championship Series this year. And in second position, World Championship leader Carlos Lavado, who would seem to me virtually to have tied up the 1986 250 World Championship in the process. In third place, Cito Pons. In fourth position, Reinhold Roth. In fifth place, Carlos Cardas. In sixth position, Virginio Ferrari.
So Carlos Lavado.